Hey, welcome everybody to Spirituality Adventures. We're glad you're tuning into this episode. We are a viewer and listener supported podcast, so we really appreciate you listening, watching on YouTube. We really encourage you to subscribe to whatever platform you're using. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, or if you're on Apple or however you listen to a podcast, be sure and subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. Also, make comments if you like it and share it if you like it. We really need people to make comments and share the episodes that you like. And then also, if you're not already a supporter, we really would encourage you to go to spiritualityadventures.com and you can pick a tier, and we have bonus content for every type of giver. This is a nonprofit, so they're tax-deductible donations, but we do provide bonus content for those who are supporters. So be a part of the team, help support Spirituality Adventures, and we're so glad you're tuning into this episode. All right. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning into this episode. I'm excited to introduce to you Janay Reliford. Janay and I only recently met in person just a couple of weeks ago at the Racial Justice Summit that was done at Independence Boulevard Christian Church. But prior to that, Janay, I had met with Pastor Michael Brooks, Dr. Nicole Price, Reverend Mindy Fuggerino, and Reverend Bob Hill, and myself. We were wanting to put together a MLK event on the Friday before Martin Luther King Day, on January 16th. And we were going to put together a panel, and everybody was saying that we needed to get Janay Reliford on this panel. And so I didn't know you. I hate to say it, but I did. So I said, tell me who Janay is. And so then I started checking you out and stalking you on all the social media stuff, right? And so I was like, oh man, I got to get to know this gal and woman. And then then I met you in person. And I was like, hey, cool. So, yeah. So Janay actually has an amazing story, and she is helping lead several different organizations here in Kansas City. And I want to get into each one of them, Janay. So one of them is Kansas City Reparations Coalition. One of them is C.H.O.I.C.E. One of them is, am I right, Yvonne Stark Wilson Park. Are you still working on that?
We can get into that one, but
Okay.
so I was assisting with fundraising for that park through AmeriCorps. I was in AmeriCorps Vista just for like a year.
Okay.
But
It's the two
that
primary.
park, that park, I'm not done with that because the camp that I I shared that my ultimate goal is to build this fun park. Well, the history of that park, it used to be a national destination for African Americans all across the country to come for entertainment and amusement because we couldn't go to other amusement parks. So it was called Liberty Park.
Okay.
Yes, and so this historic Dunbar area is like over 100 acres of land there. And so that is where I am looking to build.
Wow. Interesting. Well, let's first give us a little bit of your background story, kind of like your story of origin. Where did you grow up? Where were you born? Tell us a little bit about your family of origin. Give us a little backdrop to Janay Reliford.
Sure. So where do I always start with the passing of my mother. My mother passed away when I was 15, and I'm the oldest of four. Um, my youngest sibling, Sade, no, my youngest sister, Lindsay, was just 5 months old when our mother passed away. And my sister Sade was 1, my brother was 4, and I was 15. And none of the dads, there's 3 dads between us, and none of them were able in position to take us. So our grandparents came and got us. And I always share this story about my mother and her passing two significant things. Of course, she was a beautiful person and mother, but two things that stand out to me that she did before her passing was, first, she gave me a solid spiritual foundation. She taught me about Christ, even though she wasn't searching as far as her belief in Christ, but she was like searching the different avenues to him. She was searching Jehovah's Witness. She was searching Yahweh. Like, I just seen her um connecting with all these different religious groups to try to find her way. But she always um spoke about Christ, and she always shared a love for Christ. Um, and so today, that is what's kept me more than anything, is my own, her sharing that with me, and then my own personal journey with him. But the other thing she did was she signed me up for a scholarship program, like literally the year before she passed away. She signed me up for Project Choice through the Kaufman Foundation. So that afforded me to go to college. And I got my bachelor's degree in social work through the Kaufman Foundation. And then I was able to go on and get my master's degree in social work administration at KU. I did the Edwards campus, and I was able to get a scholarship for that as well. It was the Ena Calkins Scholarship. So I basically had full ride scholarships for my undergrad and my master's degree programs. I uh, became a teenage mom after losing my mom. Like, got pregnant immediately. The same month my mother passed away, I got pregnant.
Wow.
My first time having sex. And I moved away
Gosh.
from my grandparents. Yeah, yeah. I always make sure to stress that to the young people.
First
Yeah,
time. Oh my goodness.
yes.
Wow.
And um, so became the teenage mom, um, but stayed in school. And so I have two sons, two adult sons now, Ronald and Devon, and I have three grandchildren,
Mm.
Tristan, Rose, and Ruby.
Mm. How old are they?
So Rose is the oldest. Rose is 11. That's Ronald's daughter. And then he also has Ruby. So Ruby's just a little, she's probably 13, 14 months. And Tristan, he turned 1 the day after Mother's Day. So, I'm not keeping up with the months, but he's 1.
Mm.
So I have 2 1-year-old grandchildren and an 11-year-old.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome. So, and tell what schools did you go to? And did you have a home church that you were a part of, or was that?
We definitely have a family church.
Hmm.
And I've been exploring as far as having a home church.
Yeah.
But I grew up with Christian Tabernacle Church. My uncle, um, Emmanuel Newton, was a bishop. And so I grew up in his church,
Okay.
and his son now pastors Christian Tabernacle Church. So I go there often, but I also visit a lot of other churches as well. Now, when I was claiming a home church, I was at Sheffield Family Life Center.
Okay.
I was there for quite some time. But my first home church was um, like, since I've been an adult, making
Hmm.
my own choices for church,
Hmm.
um, was I'm just drawing a blank on it right now, but I had a home church before Christian Tabernacle.
Okay.
What was the other question you asked?
Well, just the schools that you grew up as
Well,
well.
the school is significant because, as I shared, my mother signed me up for the scholarship program through the Kaufman Foundation, Project Choice. And so Westport, I did middle school with Westport and high school.
Okay.
So that I got signed up for Project Choice in middle school in the 8th grade, and graduated from Westport High School.
Okay. So you're a Kansas City native.
I am.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Well, so let's get into which one do you want to start with first? Kansas City Reparation Coalition or Camp Choice? I want to do a deep
Start with
dive
Camp
onto both of
Choices because
these.
that's first.
Okay. So you are the CEO and founder of Camp Choice. And choice is an acronym that stands for Children Having Opportunities in Creating Environment.
Yes.
So tell us about when did you start this? What's your vision for it? What's your mission? Give us, help people understand what Camp Choice is all about.
So, upon losing my mom and becoming a teenage mom myself, now we talk about patterns, family patterns. My grandmother became a mom at 13. My mother became a mom at 15, and I became a mom at 15. But gratefully, my sons broke the cycle. At least they waited until adulthood before they had children. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that. Um, but became a teenage mom immediately upon my mom's passing with and moved away from my grandparents as I shared. And because I thought I don't know what it is about a young person's brain where they think that they know something, you know. So I thought at 15 years old that, I knew something about life. So I moved away from my grandparents. I got on public assistance. I had some of my peers tell me, you can get your Section 8 and public assistance and things like that. So I went for those things at 16 years old. And so I moved away from my grandparents and learned that I didn't know anything. I didn't know much
Wow.
of anything
So
about.
you're saying you're a 16-year-old mom living on your own now.
Yeah,
And
and when I
and
look
yet
at pictures of
you stayed
myself,
in school.
I did.
Yeah.
And
Hey.
I'm very grateful because I do not know where I would be without this scholarship.
Yeah.
Um, Without that college scholarship, I don't know where I would be today.
Mm,
Um, but even so, at least I graduated. I did graduate high school, but I'm pretty sure that's because of the scholarship.
mm-hmm.
Because had I not had that scholarship, that was a carrot to
Yeah.
graduate
Yeah, you had a
was the
bit of a
scholarship.
vision for yeah. Mm,
Yes. So, yeah, I made so many poor choices, being out there on my own as a teenage mom. And then, of course, you can imagine having my own place and my peers. I mean, yeah, let's hang out at Janay's. There's no adults over
right.
there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I made a lot of poor choices and the consequences of those choices hurt as far as getting involved with drugs and alcohol, connecting myself with people that weren't really my friends. And also, I don't really like to call it sexual promiscuity because I wasn't promiscuous. I really wasn't. I was I was a people pleaser. And so it was just giving myself away because I wanted to please people, not because I wanted it myself.
Mm,
And so those things that I did to myself, those poor choices that I made, and the consequences, is what lit a desire in me to want to do something to help other young people,
okay.
not have to go through what I went through, make the same poor decisions that I had made. And so after graduating, with my bachelor's degree in social work, the Kaufman Foundation offered alumni the opportunity to go through an entrepreneur awareness program.
Yes.
And so that is where I created the concept of Camp Choice. I had no idea what entrepreneurship was. And so this was really in my early stages of developing my personal relationship with Christ. Like I heard about him. My mother told me about him. I heard about him at church, but I didn't know him for myself. So it was when I got pregnant with my second son that I call it, I had a nervous breakdown. I was so emotionally distraught and just so disappointed in myself that I cried out to the Lord, and he heard me. He heard my cry. From that day forward, I've been walking with him. I've been journeying with him. I've been communing with him, and he's been responding to me. And not just responding, leading me. Um, so those so that connection, that's who I went to when I got this opportunity to go through this entrepreneur awareness class. It was more than a class, it was a competition. So it was an 8-month course to teach us about entrepreneurship, A to Z. We had to develop a business plan. We had to have we had to produce an infomercial, and we had to have a booth.
Hmm.
Um, for people. They had this, Kaufman Foundation. If you know anything about them, they do things uh, really big and really beautiful.
Yeah,
And
for
so we
sure.
had a whole event where the community was open to the community to come and check out our booths and our infomercials. I even had my son. I didn't have my youngest was probably a baby at the time. But I had my oldest son, he's in the infomercial that I
Okay.
did. I basically did this infomercial where I had my son, he's walking into a candy store and he's gonna steal some candy. And so that's the first take. Like he goes in and he's thinking, he's looking around and he's thinking of what he should do. And so then the second take is like, he's learned some things from Camp Choice, and he don't even have to think about it. He's not gonna steal that candy. So yeah, it was a cute little
It's
infomercial.
fun.
But in my prayer to God, that's how I didn't know what entrepreneurship was, and I didn't know what business that I would create.
Hmm.
And so I prayed to God about it, and it really, literally, I still say it fell. It came down upon me.
Hmm.
Camp Choice, children having opportunities and creating an environment, meaning the choices we make create the environment that we find ourselves in. And it's not just our own choices. Our personal choices don't only just impact our lives. Our choices impact the lives of others. So we really have to be careful about the choices that we make. So that is the business that I cultivated through that entrepreneurship program. Now going into it, I thought, as a social worker, only knowing not for profit, I thought Camp Choice was going to be a not for profit, but God took me a different way, and Camp Choice is not a not for profit. It is an S corporation
Okay.
because entrepreneurship as a Black woman was very important. I learned, that we don't own enough, and ownership is, that's the way to wealth.
Hmm.
Uh, that's the way to bring yourself up out of poverty. And so ownership was very important to me. So I went the route of S corp, as well as just the experience that I had with not for profits, and seeing that um, the board, even though boards are seated to help, to grow, to lead, to guide the organization, I was seeing a lot of that boards were in the way of the growth,
Yeah.
of organizations. And I knew that what God gave me, and when God gives you something, like he is crazy, it's things that he tell you to do are a lot of times outside of the normal uh thinking that people would have.
Hmm.
He calls you to do things that are outside the box, that seem impossible. And I knew that these things that God was calling me to do would be hard for a board to agree to. So it was better for me to go at it as an S corp rather than a not for profit. So yeah, I go through
Remind
this
people,
entrepreneur awareness
um,
program. I
remind
use
people
Camp
what the
Choice.
difference is between a nonprofit and an S corp. Just
So
briefly, yeah.
yes, so as a not-for-profit, I wouldn't have ownership. So
Right.
not-for-profits are public entities. Nobody owns those. The public owns not-for-profits. So and you have to seat a board that governs the the work of that not-for-profit
Mhm.
and the leader. So I actually had met. So like I'm speeding through a little bit through what happened with this business plan competition because I thought I was going to be the winner, but I wasn't the winner. And so after the business plan competition and I didn't win, I was distraught, I was hurt, and I had to prove a point. So I went and started networking with people in the community to see what can I do to show that this is a viable business. Um, and it was like a $20 million project. So I had got referred to Jim Nunley. If you're familiar with who Jim Nunley is,
I don't know him
he's
personally, but I know
our
of him. Yeah.
granddad.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he was all at that time, he was a board member at Samuel Rogers Community Health Center. So I shared my business plan with him, and from him looking at my business plan, he said he thought that I would be a great candidate for this grants coordinator position with Samuel Rogers Community Health Center. I had never wrote a grant,
Okay.
but that business plan got me the job. And so, being the grants coordinator for Samuel Rogers, I learned that the founder, Samuel Rogers, was fired by his board.
Yeah.
And I was, what?
I got fired by one of my boards too. So anyway.
Yeah, and I didn't know that was possible. And then I met a gentleman named Jerry Meadall. He's passed away now, but he founded a organization called Anger Alternatives. I think it was Anger Alternatives or it was Anger Options, one or the other. But he ended up getting fired by his board and he had to change the name of
Hmm.
his company. Basically, he went for profit, which is called social entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
I never knew anything about social
Yep.
entrepreneurship. That was my first experience learning how entrepreneurs could take a social mission and, do their business. So
Which is the
that
S
is what
corp category.
that
Yeah.
changed me. Because
Right.
in that competition, C.H.O.I.C.E was a not-for-profit in my business plan, but those experiences diverted my way. And so I actually got help through UMKC School of Law to understand the difference between for-profits and not-for-profits
Hmm.
and even LLC versus
Hmm.
S Corp or a
Right.
different model.
Yep. Yep.
And so I ended up going S Corp in
Okay.
2006.
Okay. So, so what was your, give us what's the vision for the, I mean, you mentioned about helping young people make better choices in the environment they live in, but unroll this thing for us. What does it
Oh yeah,
do? What
it's
are the
pretty exciting.
programs? Do you have staff?
Uh-huh.
How do
It's
you,
pretty
how do you make
exciting.
money or raise money or what, all that stuff? Tell us about it.
Yes. So I registered myself as an S Corp in 2006. And I was just doing like um life skills activities with young people here and there. But in 2011, I actually had my first weekend retreat. That I was trying to show the public what the fun park would be about. So I played this game with you called the C.H.O.I.C.E Game of Life. And until I build this fun park, because the fun park is going to be designed off of this game that I play with the young people. But I rent out 3 Trail Salvation Army camp because that's the only camp that I've been able to find that's local where I could play this game because I have to rent stepping stone lodging. So when the young people come to camp, this is meant to be a week-long experience, but I've only been able to do them in a weekend. Which these weekend camps that I have been doing have become a niche because not people don't really do weekend camps. Um, but when the young people come, the first day, they get a profile. They randomly draw a profile, just like in life. We don't get to choose the family we're born into, the environment we're born into. So they randomly choose this profile that has different demographics. It'll have an income, that which could be they could be on public assistance or they could have a high earning income. They could be a different race to show them that you can have a different experience in this country based on your race. They could be married or single. They could be a non-custodial parent versus a custodial parent. It's just giving them all these different dynamics your life could take on depending on your choices and depending on circumstances that are out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that profile determines the lodging they can afford to stay in the first night. So I rent out lodging that represent low income, middle income, high income, your class system. And so then the next day they get 3 challenge cards throughout the day that'll have a poor choice, a positive choice, or a circumstance out of their control. So they have to manage their budget. These cards have scenarios on them that it could be a plus, a surplus, or a decrease in their income. And so they have to manage this budget. And then they go through obstacles, and these obstacles that they go through, like they're being judged, they're team building obstacles. So they're being judged on if they're paying attention, if they're playing as a team. Um, and then that lowers or raises their income. And so by the end of the day, that Saturday, we tally up their income and they can either maintain their lodging, move to higher level, or have to move to lower level lodging. So it's teaching them about economics and how our choices play into where we possibly end up in life and about the social construct of race. And it also has a curriculum that goes with it where we're talking about Earth's beginning, which I don't proselytize. We don't proselytize at the camp, but I always share my Christian testimony and I allow young people to share what they've learned and what they believe versus what they've learned regarding the origins of life, religion, things along those lines. So that's Earth's beginning. And then we go over race, culture, and family. So we talk about the social construct of race. We talk about race and culture, that is not the color of our skin that separates us. It is our different beliefs and traditions that, that causes division.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last part of it is internal and external involvement. And I'm skipping one. That's education, careers, and financial stability. So we're going over the difference between a career and a job, um, and how we become financially stable. And then the last one is internal and external involvement, where we're talking about what is going on in the world around us and how are we internalizing, what we see, what we hear, what's happening to us, what's happening to others. And because that's how we make our choices on a daily basis. So that's the weekend experience in a nutshell of the Game of Life weekend adventures. Since
How-
then, I've done more themes, different weekend themes. I've done human rights camps. I've done like emergency preparedness, survival camps. And now I've been doing these youth right to life retreats in October because October is National Crime Prevention Month. So I've been building awareness around crime prevention, specifically homicide amongst young African American men and domestic violence, and helping young people understand that we can prevent and de-escalate violence and the history of why there is heightened violence in our neighborhoods.
Mm. What ages are these kids that you do this with?
So typically I serve middle to high school age students,
Okay.
but I also do life skills with young people of all ages, from elementary, even early adulthood.
Okay. And how do they how do you recruit and do they pay for this weekend, or how does the financial side of it work? I'm just curious.
That's the good question right there, because I'm supposed to be a for-profit, but I totally function like a not-for-profit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the way that I'm doing this is not the way that I ultimately planned to do it. Like, it's supposed to be, I have this fun part and the revenues from the amenities and the attractions fun. the summer experience, but
Okay.
I don't have this $20 million fun park yet. So, and I don't turn young people away. So typically I end up serving families who are uh, for whatever reason, either they can't afford the camp fees or they put their money towards other things. Um, they don't they may have a different mindset when it comes to the value of where they put their money. So we don't worry about that part of it. We just mainly we want the young people to have the experience. So we don't our philosophy is that we don't turn young people away for inability to pay, and we seek sponsorship in the community to fill the gaps. So that's how we've been doing running these weekend experiences since 2011, and I've done many of them and they've all been exceptional.
Hmm. That sounds amazing. Um, do you advertise it like in the middle schools and high schools in the core, basically?
We do.
Is that where you're
So
marketing most of this,
I
or
would
is it?
say mostly it comes from previous we get new campers
Hmm.
from word of mouth from previous campers. But absolutely always marketing to schools, churches, and other youth serving entities. But we've done it so much now that campers from
You got a
2011,
reputation
they're
now.
grown
Yeah.
now.
Word of mouth is
So they've
working.
come back as chaperones.
Cool.
Um, I've gone to weddings and baby showers and graduations of previous campers, and it really have built some beautiful relationships with these young people and their parents over the years.
Very cool. I love it. Let's go to do you want? Is there something else you want to say about Camp Choice? Like,
Well,
because I want to just dive into the reparations stuff.
Well, absolutely. I'll just
Yeah.
say anybody who wants to know more about Camp Choice can just check out the website, which is www.campchoicekc.com. And we also have youthrightolife.com. So you can find out more about that because another thing we do is African History Saturdays. So really that's a good segue into the reparations conversation because that's how we ended up doing African History Saturdays through Camp Choice. It's through my work, my reparations work.
Mm.
So we do African History Saturdays the first Saturday of the month, March through October. And then October is our Youth Right to Life retreat.
And what is the Youth Right to Life retreat?
So that's what I was just sharing with you
Okay.
about
That's that.
uh,
Okay.
focusing. We do it in October because of National Crime Prevention Month
Okay.
and just building awareness about homicide and giving young people conflict resolution skills
Gotcha.
so that they
Gotcha.
can prevent and de-escalate violence.
Okay. Cool. Have you ever partnered with Center for Conflict Resolution? Have you heard of them?
I'm very familiar with them. I've never had a partnership with
Okay.
them, but I'm familiar with their work.
Okay.
So who we work with to do our conflict resolution sessions is the National Black United Front Kansas City chapter.
Okay. All right. I love the restorative justice movement, and that work and stuff like that. And I think it pairs up well with reparations to some extent, the restorative justice thing. So yeah, so let's talk about reparations. I mean, my a lot of people that might be listening to this are probably white. And so at least the majority, a big majority. And
They think they're white, so
yeah,
they think
right. The
they're white.
socially constructed white. Okay. But reparations is such I mean, this is a concept I think that's been around for a long time, for historically. I mean, even biblically, in some cases, but I still think there's so much ignorance in the larger population of America that reparations is a very foreign concept to a lot of people, right? So let's talk first about what is reparations in just the big picture. Then let's dive what is Kansas City Reparations Coalition in particular, and then what are we wanting to accomplish through that here in Kansas City? So
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the simple definition for reparations is repair for harm. Um, so we're talking specifically about the repair of the harm of chattel slavery, which uh, it's not, the reparations work is not just about the era of chattel slavery, because there are legacy harms, as you know. We the descendant, the enslaved and descendants, we have never become, we've never been repaired. We've never received any form of reparations. Um, and the harm hasn't ended. So when people say, why are we stuck on enslavement? Or you were never a slave, so why do you need reparations? I implore people to think about things from a perspective of legacy. Um, so upon emancipation, those former enslaved went through a period of involuntary servitude where, I mean, they didn't receive any monetary reparations, although they were supposed to get that 40 acres and a mule. And actually some families received land that they ended up having to give back, which I cannot even imagine that trauma of enslavement, first of all, and then to think that you're going to be healed, receive some healing or compensation from that, and then get that snatched from you as well. But so 40 acres and a mule that was promised got snatched away. And so these former enslaved, they didn't have anything. They had nowhere to go. So a lot of them stayed on their former enslavers' land. And supposedly it was supposed to be in an agreement where they worked the land and they would be get compensated for that, but it never ended up being fair. It was always still they owed. Um, it wasn't a fair system. So even then, upon involuntary servitude, then we also know that there was Jim Crow, where redlining was instituted. We were kept from building wealth, and also along with the being kept from building wealth, we were still like in an being seen as criminal. Um, that's really where policing was created, um, to to uh, to to keep Black people from being able to, stick them on their former enslavers' land, and as far as well as to just keep us from being able to have our own things. Um, so we went through that period of extreme policing, that we're still in today, redlining. That if you take maps from the era of Jim Crow and redlining and put them over areas of urban core cities today, there's not a lot of difference.
right.
Um, so, and now we're in the era of enslavement, of mass incarceration, where enslavement is still legal, as under the 13th Amendment. And as you know, Blacks, African Americans, we're disproportionately represented in the penal systems. So this is why we fight for reparations, and all of this, this trauma, that generational trauma that we've experienced, has caused a lot of mental health issues that stem from lack of identity, us not knowing who we are, and then also just being stuck in poverty. So many of us, yes, there have been, lots of African Americans that have been able to be economically successful, resilient through all of the harm areas, but all of that has to do with environment, and who was in their corner to help them to be resilient and scale.
Mm.
Um, to escape the oppression that still exists today.
Yeah, obviously growing up white in the suburbs of Kansas City, I'm a Northlander. I went to elementary, junior high, and high school, uh, part elementary in Prairie Village, and then my dad was a TWA guy. We moved north, so so we weren't taught this. I mean, I had at Park Hill High School. I graduated in 1979, Park Hill High School, and there were only a few black families in my whole high school in the late 70s. They were athletes and I was an athlete, so we were all friends. But I never thought about how their experience as black minority students in that Park Hill High School was different than mine. It it never even it didn't even cross my mind, honestly, right? I've had to learn so much about the things that you're talking about through friends of mine, that being friends with black pastors and black friends, and hearing their stories and listening deeply to begin to see a picture that was never painted for me as a white person growing up in a white suburb about the
Yeah.
experience of. And so, like, I think now, like 400 years, I mean, like the first slaves came in like what, 1600s, right? And you're talking chattel.
Some people take it back to 1500s.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's right around there.
Yeah.
But chattel slavery being, these human beings were not considered human beings. They were considered property, like furniture or cattle or anything that was owned and possessed by the owner, could be sold and bought and traded, like
Insured.
all of that, just like property. And then for hundreds of years, what, couple of hundred years, 1600s till 1800s, that's, and then the generational trauma of 200 years of that chattel slavery. Then, even when emancipation happens in the South, they just created a new Jim Crow system to keep people in servitude, like you're describing, right? And so it's that you toss on that, that's another. I mean, it's 400 years of stuff, right? And the generational trauma of that. One of the books that, I mean, there's so many books that help me. Cast is a good one, but My Grandmother's Hand is a book that I read recently that talks about blue body, black body trauma and generational trauma. There's books I've tried to share with my white friends who, to help get a window into the kind of generational trauma and what that creates in a people over a long, long, long period of time, right? I mean,
Well, not only just the generational trauma, but the generational wealth that America built off of enslavement. So when
yes,
people say, "Why do you think you're owed reparations?" Because America's the wealthiest country in the world because of the wealth they built off of enslavement.
yes,
That is why. So as a social worker, I did one semester teaching at Blue River Community College.
mhm.
And I had to read the book, before teaching the book.
Which book?
And I learned in there that
Which book?
it's I don't even know the name of the
Okay,
book, but
okay,
it was the book for the class. So,
gotcha.
yes, in the book, it was talking about how if you grow up in a family that is in poverty, there's like almost an 80% chance you'll remain in poverty
Hmm.
for the rest of your life. And
Hmm.
on the flip side, it's the same statistic that if you grow up in a family of affluence, it's about that same percentage that you'll stay in affluence
Hmm.
for the rest of your life.
Yes,
So when you think about things from a legacy standpoint, I don't
yes.
understand why anybody could say reparations is not owed to us.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, if you go back in modern history, like let's say to Nazi Germany, um, and Germany has paid reparations to Jewish people, right? Isn't that right?
And America, from what I understand,
Mhm.
America encouraged that.
Exactly, right. But then they didn't self-reflect. on their own history with black people, right? So yeah, so it's funny, even um yeah, oh my goodness. My brain is racing on so many things. But yeah, repairing harm is a biblical concept. When I've been in the recovery community for a while. One of the things I had to do was to make amends because I had wrestled with some addiction issues. And so one of the things I did in the 12 steps was make amends to the people that I've harmed. And that's a biblical principle,
It
right?
is. And was that not therapeutic?
It was good for me and it was good for the people that I made my amends to, right?
So there you have it, Fred. When people say, well,
Yep.
what's in it for me?
Yep.
Like when people are wondering, how does reparations help anybody other than Black people?
Yep.
It heals the nation.
Yes.
That's what it does.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's not going to just heal the nation from a social uh, vantage point, from an economic vantage point as well.
Yes. When we're all thriving together, all the boats rise, right?
Then we could really be the greatest country in the
Exactly.
nation
Exactly. Yeah, so
or
let's
in the
talk about
world.
some of you guys have in Kansas City Reparations Coalition, and then there's also a commission that Mayor Lucas has put together too. Is that right? Or
Well,
or
with
was it
our help, he
with
put it
your help,
together.
right? With a lot of prodding.
Yes, yes.
But
So I'd love to share that history.
um
Uh,
we've
so
we got a little bit more time, but we got about 15 more minutes here. So um give us a little bit of insight into the Kansas City Commission for Reparation and then the work that you're doing with Kansas City Reparations Coalition and how you've outlined
yes.
five key things, if I understand right: housing, healthcare, education, criminal justice, and economic business stuff. Is that's the five areas that we think about when we think about reparations?
Well,
Is that
for Kansas City,
for
there are
Kansas
way
City?
more harm
Okay,
areas.
yeah,
Environmental is a huge one that we don't have on our list.
true.
Um, so basically, KC Reparations Coalition, we started our work inspired by what we saw happening in Evanston, Illinois. Robin Rue Simmons led Evanston to being the first city to pass tax-funded reparations. So the Black United Front of Kansas City, Baba Mickey Dean, he put out an invitation in 2020 for other Black-led groups to join this coalition to work towards local reparations. I was a volunteer with Sankofa for Kansas City at the time. Other Black-led organizations that got reached out to were Muhammad's Mosque 30, SCLC KC, Urban Summit KC, Urban League of Kansas City. These are the groups that make up KC Reparations Coalition. We had a couple of others in the beginning that are no longer at the table now, but we started out connecting with our local council people, Councilwoman Melissa Robinson. She helped us draft a resolution in support of HR 40, which is the national reparations legislation. That resolution passed through city council unanimously to say we are in support of HR 40. So that encouraged us to go for the commission. Now, at the time, we didn't know, but Mayor Quentin Lucas was a member of MORE, Mayors Organized for Racial Equity. Who knew? That was like a best kept secret or something.
Hmm.
So when we found that out, we connected with him and we let him know about the work that we had been doing for a couple of years, because by that time we're probably 2022 now. So
Mhm.
we had let him know about the work we had been doing and that we were the group to help him reach his goals for
Okay.
racial equity. So that's when we started the work towards the commission. So KC Reparations Coalition, we split ourselves. Now, this is the work we did before we even got to the mayor. We split ourselves up into subcommittee groups. That's where the harm areas came from.
Okay.
So we split ourselves up into those subcommittee groups: education, housing, health, public safety, criminal justice, and we documented what we believe the harms were, who we believe were culpable for the harms, and even Black-led entities that we believe could be the remedies
Mm.
to repair harms. That document is what became the ordinance for the commission. So the commission was seated in 2023. Sadly, it was seated without funding. We had encouraged the mayor ahead of time that these commissions have to have funding. So it took a year for us to convince him to put some money behind the commission. So the commission was funded, not fully funded. The ask was 510,000 and they got 350,000. But they were able to hire a research team, which there was some kinks in there um, because of Trump's DEI executive orders that had put a halt on the commission's work to be able to finalize hiring the
Mm.
research team. But Baba Mickey Dean, he's a retired attorney. He rallied up his uh, networks in the legal field and reparations movement, and they wrote a letter to the city legal department, and that freed us up for the commission to go ahead and hire that research team. So we are well on our way to seeing some actual
Mm.
harm reports
Okay.
come out of this commission. So this research team has 12 months, I believe it is. It was originally 18 months that they were supposed to have, but that 18 months passed last November. Um, but now we're on the road to the harm reports, which once those harm reports are complete, they will be given to city council to vote on, which is why public engagement is critical. And that is the role of KC Reparations Coalition, is to be educating the public on what reparations is, what it isn't, so we can build more allies. So when these harm reports go before city council, we'll have the public backing to push those proposals forward if there's any opposition.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. So, just to put a little plug, our plan, Lord willing, if this all comes together, is Spirituality Ventures is going to just help put together this MLK event. We're going to do it at Pastor Brooks's church. This will be Friday night, January 16th. And so far, Mickey Dean and yourself, and I think, do you know Edgar Pelosius? He works with Latinx education stuff, and I think him, and I'm trying to think. I mean, maybe Holly McKissick. They're going to be on the panel, and Dr. Price is going to kind of conduct the panel, and so, and it's really it's trying to help educate people in Kansas City on the work that we still need to do.
Mhm.
That's the work that you've been doing, that you've given your life to, right?
Yes.
But we're trying to broaden out that this, the understanding and education part of this, because I think, we've got to get white people understanding why this is so important and why all boats can rise together if we create justice for all, equality for all, opportunities for all, and do the work of repairing the harm that has been done and still lives in this generational trauma, and the economics of that, the health, all the environment. Anyway,
No, I
there's so
wish I
much
could
to it.
understand. I wish that I could understand the resistance. I wish that I could understand why so many whites are not for reparations. But what I resolve to is that it is ignorance.
Yeah,
And if they were only better educated,
yeah,
then they would change their mind. And it's really, these are heart issues.
mhm,
I always stress that reparations is not political. Is not, it doesn't even belong in the political conversation. But since that's where it's been put, then we have to deal with it on a political
mhm,
stage.
mhm,
But it's a human rights issue, is
mhm.
what it
Yeah,
is.
for sure. Yeah, and I think that. I think ignorance is a big part because I think there's some really good-hearted white people that that have never they don't understand. I mean, they just don't have
Because
you
they've
know,
been miseducated.
it can be miseducation. It can still be there still are a lot of racists out there, right? There's still racists that exist. So that's not necessarily an education issue. That's a hard issue. But I do think there's some really good-hearted white people all over America that just are ignorant and need to be educated. And I think we've people people like myself need to help augment voices.
And I'm hoping
Yeah.
that
So
I'm hoping that the number of those that just need more education is greater than the number of those who are still racist in the
yes,
heart.
I hope so too. I hope, like with Martin Luther King Jr., who, if you're looking on our YouTube, we've got him in the background right there. Hey, hey, hey. But I hope that what was his famous quote? The arc of history is long,
He's
or
got so many great ones, and I
it
wish I knew
bends
them all
towards
by heart.
justice. Is am I getting it close?
Yeah,
So that's my prayer: is that the heart of God, God's love for all people, and we're all made in the image of God. We're all God's children. So let's create a beloved community that where all boats can rise together and will thrive together. And that's a vision of mine for sure. So
I love it, Fred. And that I hope everybody can see my shirt really well. It says show love for
mm,
reparations. As we were saying, it's a heart issue. And it
hmm
really is about showing love and compassion and understanding for human beings that went through, and you can say that it wasn't us that went through it, but it's in our DNA. If
sure.
you've never heard of epigenetics,
Yes.
please study that.
Yeah.
The trauma is in us. And as you were saying, it's biblical. I wish that I would have looked the scripture up before our show, because there is scripture that talks about how it's reparations will come. Reparations is coming. Um, and I just don't want it to be coming with war. With emancipation, there was a whole civil war because people didn't want to let go of enslavement. And still to this day, people don't want to let go of enslavement. That is why it's legal via the 13th Amendment.
Yeah. We still got a long way to go. Well, thank you for your work. We're about running out of time here, but
We could go on and on.
yeah, but thank you. From just hearing your whole story and how you have shown such resilience coming from a single mom at 15 to get a college degree, to get a master's degree, to devote your life to helping young people in the Corps begin to grow and make choices and learn how to thrive in their environments, and then to help bring uh, you know restorative justice and reparations to a community that has suffered for so long. And man, I just love the fact that that's a redemptive arc of your own life story and how you're using that to bless others and bring hope and love and care and concern and reparation of harms to those that are struggling with that every day, right? So thank you so much. I'm grateful that I've gotten to know you just briefly here, and look forward to future partnering with you as well. So
I really appreciate the opportunity very much. I appreciate you as an ally. I appreciate everyone who's listening, and I'm hoping that they're listening with an open heart and an open mind. Um, and that I know for me, I'm called to this work. And I know that all of us have a calling to something. So I would just encourage your listeners um, that if they're not aware of their calling, to tap into that.
Hmm.
And you do that just by simply calling on the name of the Father. It's so easy.
Yeah. I last Sunday I just preached a message on the kingdom of God as Jubilee, and in the Jewish Torah, and then in the prophet Isaiah. Remember Isaiah 61? Jesus read the Isaiah scroll in Nazareth in Luke 4, and he got up and said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me to bring good news to the poor, set the captives free, sight to the blind, and to proclaim the favorable year of the Lord," which was the 50th year. So 7 times 7 is 49. And then in the 50th year, and according to Isaiah, it was supposed to be Jubilee. And in ancient Israel days, they were allotted land, but then as time went along, some people had bad luck on their crops. They had to borrow money to feed their families, and then they couldn't pay their debts, and so they'd go into debtor's prison, and they'd lose their land. So the rich got richer, and the poor got poorer, and they got thrown in. So Jubilee was a new beginning. It was a reparations of sort. And if you read Leviticus 25, there are 3 things that happen on the 50th, every 50th year, Jubilee. And one of them was that everybody's debts was forgiven. So economic debts forgiven. Number 2, everybody that was in debtor's prison were released. So they got out of prison. And then 3, you got your land back that you had lost. And so you got a whole new beginning. That was every 50 years. Now, the evidence in the history of ancient Israel is that never happened because the rich people never want to let go.
Yeah.
But it was literally built into the whole system of a type of a reparations that's called Jubilee. The king and Jesus started out his whole ministry saying, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me," and we're the body of Christ. The Spirit of the Lord is upon us, and we're supposed to be about that kind of work. I mean, it's at the heart of Jesus's gospel message to bring Jubilee to everybody.
Amen.
Isn't that good?
It's coming.
So anyway, thank you so much for the work that you're doing and for your work here in Kansas City, a city that I still love and care for so much. So thank you.
Me too, Fred.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And Janay we'll put in our show notes as well, the websites and the organizations that you're working with. If you're a business owner out there and you want to be a sponsor and a partner with some of this work, that's a great idea too, right? Mm-hmm. Janay is always looking for partners and sponsors and help with this work.
Kansas City Reparations Coalition, we have a new email address. I mean, a new website. Well, we got a new email address too, but you can get to it from our new website, which is www.kcreparationscoalition.org. Actually, our old one was .com. So it's the same website, just .org instead of .com.
Excellent.
But there's a wealth of information on there. Education. There's a wealth of education on there. So I encourage people to please visit our website.
Excellent. All right, folks. All right. It's the work of Jesus. It's the good news. It's the gospel. So we gotta jump on board. We need everybody doing this work of the kingdom of God and Jubilee. All right.
Reparations in this generation.
There we go. I like it. All right. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Hey, you made it to the end. Thanks for listening all the way through on this episode. By the way, if you're not already a supporter, go to spiritualityadventures.com, sign up for one of our monthly supports, and you will receive our bonus content. You'll receive lots of interesting information about our guests. Many of our musicians will do special bonus songs and record a song. So I want to encourage you to do that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Be sure and subscribe. Be sure and share any of the episodes that you like. And be sure and make comments if you like them as well. This helps us get Spirituality Adventures out there to more listeners, more watchers. So whatever platform you're using, subscribe, like, share, make comments, and go to our website, sign up for our team, and be a part of the team support. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.